Okay, good afternoon. Hope everyone is well. Welcome to our live stream. What we're going to do today, we're going to show you the process that we go through for developing any sort of product, really. As you know, those who've joined us before, we mainly sort of specialise in the Lovespoon. So that's going to be the focus of what we do. You should be able to see on screen this one here, our Lovespoon design that we're going to work on. We've got Thomas Woodcarver with us at the moment. Hello, Thomas Woodcarver.
Prynawn da, good afternoon.
Prynawn da. Yeah, so what we're going to try and do, there'll be a little bit of moving the cameras around at different stages, but we're going to try and demonstrate how we actually go about making then a product, making a spoon from start to finish. I think somebody's just joined us. Hopefully you can hear us this afternoon, because we've been having a few problems. Yeah, Tommy's Workshop. Hello Tommy, nice to have you with us. Hopefully you can hear us, because the last live stream, St. Dwimwyn's Day, took us about 10 goes to get anything actually working. So, as you can see on screen, we got this design. Now this actually, you'll see a video that'll be upcoming on the channel where I've actually made 5 scroll saw projects, and this is adapted from it. I thought it was a nice design that would lend itself to making a Lovespoon. Now, for anyone interested in the designing part, and excuse the noise in the background, that's Thomas Woodcarver breaking a piece of wood up there. What we do see, to get it symmetrical, we design on the one side and then we use a light box to transfer that design onto the other side. I've then selected a piece of wood. Now, this is a little piece of teak. We got a slight waney edge on the outside there. It's been taken from a piece of furniture, and it's a lovely timber to work in. For any of you, looking interested in the different woods, teak is a beautiful timber to work in. It's been taken off a piece of furniture and a longer piece of wood, but we've cut it down to this size to make it more manageable. But also there were 2 screw holes on the end here, and because we had those 2 screw holes, we basically thought, we basically know that without sort of fussing around too much, it was easier to mark it out this side of the screw holes. So to start off, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick that design down. I think sort of to get the essence of this from the outset then, the idea of this live stream is to very much share our process, the process that we go through. So in more recent times, we've used a slightly different technique where we actually use the PVA glue and stick our template onto the wood. You want to have a check? I think we've got a couple of comments on there. Can you have a check of that one for me, dude? But this is the technique we used to use for years and years, is to use carbon paper.
That's good. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear today.
Fantastic. What a relief.
Yeah, can I use the bandsaw in there, is that right?
Yeah, you carry on. You'll have to excuse the noise in the background. Dad's going to be working on the bandsaw, but at least you know that we are a working workshop. So, what we're going to do first of all, we're going to mark out around the outside of our template. So sometimes we actually, if it's a design and we think it's going to be popular, we would actually make a thin template like this one here. So you can see that template there, that little thin wooden template. If it's a design that we think we're going to reproduce and use regularly, we would do that. We would produce a template. But initially, when we make the first one, we use our paper drawing. The reason we produce a template like that is if we're replicating the design after a while, that paper design will sort of break, basically. So we're just drawing around the outside. And as I said, this is all about sharing our process that we go through when designing and making the products. So we've designed it all out first. When it comes to selecting the timber then, before I've started the stream, I've checked for any splits, any cracks, any issues in the wood itself. So that's something then, if you're new to this, that you'll have to have a good look at your wood and try and identify any potential issues before you start. So for instance, if I was marking this out on the reverse, because you've got that slightly waney edge, you can end up marking too far to the sides, and then you sort of miss that, and then you've got a bit of an issue.
Can I interrupt now then?
Yeah, you can interrupt, okay. No problem.
I know you didn't intend doing this, but
yeah.
If you show those two pieces of wood, okay?
Well, this is what you've heard Thomas the Woodcarver in the background just working on.
There's that piece there.
A couple of pieces of wood that he's been working on. Yeah.
And that's my template.
Okay. There we are.
It's a popular template. It's number 45 on our rack.
There we are.
And so, just to explain, that's a bit of oak from an old panel. So anybody interested, you know, it's been recycled.
Well, it's relevant to the live stream because this is all about sharing our process. So you can see that's the template. From here, we'll break this wood up. You know, that's what he's done, broken up the furniture, and then we will put that through the thicknesser, through the planer as well, get it down to a more manageable thickness. Mark on the template, so it's a similar process. So it's relevant to this.
I'm going to take it in.
Yeah.
In the shed.
So there we are. So that's where you hear Thomas the Woodcarver working in the background on that one there. Now, as I mentioned I've marked around as much of the outside as I can. I'm now going to go on to just feed in my carbon paper. I should have picked a new piece of carbon paper to use, but there we are. You live and you learn. But as long as it goes under, we use that carbon paper for marking out all of the lines on the insides. So this is the first sort of part of the process that we go through, is selecting the timber and then choosing your design, developing your design as well, and marking it all out on the woods. Now, from here, I've got the hand drill ready on the bench, and I will be using the hand drill then to do our pilot holes that will be used then for doing our scroll saw work. If I was recommending it to others, then I would suggest that you're better off using the pillar drill, because it's set up to drill the holes straight and you don't have to worry so much about your accuracy as with the way I'm doing it. If I'm sort of slightly off, it's not a big deal, but ideally you would like to sort of get your holes as straight as possible. But it doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but it is relevant for anybody who's learning. Again, if you are learning, a lot of this then, it comes down to use the equipment that you've got available. So if you haven't got pillar drills and you haven't got, you know, electric drill like that one there, the battery powered one, use whatever you got available to you. You know, if you've got a wheel brace or something like that, fantastic. Used to use the wheel brace a lot years ago. So you can see we just marked out that shape. So we transferred that drawing onto the wood itself. We've checked our wood, we've selected our woods. You've heard from Dad as well, good explanation of where we get the timber from. So the lines then that we couldn't mark out because the paper was in the way, we're just going to mark those around. That's the top. Here we go. So we're marking around the top just like so. And we're just going to finish off the bowl of the spoon just like so. So that's the sort of first part of the process of making our wooden item, is to mark everything out on the woods. Now, from here, as I said, we've got that drill ready to go, and I'm going to drill all of our pilot holes. So I've got another piece of wood here, because I don't want to be drilling into there ideally. And we're going to drill out those holes. So we start at the top, just like so. Then we've got that little heart shape beneath the swan. We've got those delicate eyes. One on the one side, one on the other side. And then one above the heart and one below the heart. Okay, so that gives us a good sort of starting point. Just going to use a little bit of sandpaper and a block. Reason for that, where we drill through, it just raises those holes a little bit, and that can be a little bit tricky then for the scroll sawing. So it's worth just go back over them. It takes a little moment just to do it, but it's worth doing it because it makes the scroll sawing far easier. There we are. Just like so. Okay, excuse me. So that gets us started. Now another thing, before I do continue, let's just talk to you a little bit about the design itself. So what we've got two swans. Just notice I've missed a line off there. We got two swans, and the idea behind that, swans partner for life. So that's the thinking behind it, using a swan in our design. Swans partner for life, and so we've got those two swans together. We've got a single heart, which would be ideal then for personalising, putting the initials, something like that inside, or names. And then these gaps, we're going to cut these gaps out on the scroll saw, but what that does, it gives us that light and shade. So it gives you contrast in what you're doing. So when this is finished, it's a darker piece of wood, but you'll get nice contrast in it. Also, for the hand carving, by taking out a little bit above the heart, this piece here, and a little bit below, it just reduces a little bit of the hand carving that you've got to do. So you're just thinking of things just to help you out later on when you're designing and when you're getting started. Just going to ask as well, because Dad's come back in, Thomas Woodcarver, I'll need some shellac for at the end with this one as well.
Oh, no problem.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move over onto the scroll saw, and I'm going to demonstrate for you all to see cutting out that basic profile. Okay. Thomas Woodcarver's back with those two pieces of wood.
Can I show you two things? There we are. That's the first one. Now we get one out of there, and
there we go.
I'll choose another spoon as well because we don't want to waste. And point out the nail. You see, there's a hole
so
there.
We've got a nail hole here. We've got a nail hole there. So we'll be going
recycled wood.
That's right.
And then we'll try and get another one there.
And then we just work in. So the way we'll mark out. So this is
something like that.
This is what we're sort of doing as our day job. Then we're marking out there to avoid those nail holes. Just like so. We'll check the wood over as well, because you've always got to check over. I know we were working on a spoon the other day, and there was a nail hole we missed, and it just causes sort of problems later on.
And although it's a bit primitive, and we're only doing sort of 2 spoons out of that. This looks, if it was a big production, you'd be doing perhaps 100 or more of these. But we're only a small workshop, and we only produce limited numbers of spoons. But can I show you what happened now?
Yeah.
I took it into the planer,
and
of course I mentioned the nail holes, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, you can see I put that there. You got the 2 nail holes there.
Yeah.
Well, when I turned it over, I planed it, and I discovered after I planed it, unfortunately, can you see the silver bit there? I missed.
Look at that. Yeah.
I missed one of the nails.
Hopefully you can all just see that there on screen. You've missed it, which is the problem with that. When you miss a nail like that, of course you're blunting your planer.
And that's the problem with recycling wood.
Yeah. So
I got the other nail, and the other little thing, of course, which you just can't account for. This is a beautiful bit of old oak. This could be anything up to 80, 90 years old from the panel that we got it from. But you'll see that you've got this dark streak running through there.
That's right.
And there's also a knot there, which is some of the things that you have to contend with.
And there's nothing you can do about it. You only find out when you start processing the wood.
But it's there. Because we're not a massive workshop that orders in
big quantities,
large quantity of timber. We rely on sort of little bits and pieces. And because we were running short of this particular design, I thought, okay, we'll just knock 2 or 3 out now, just to keep the supply
speak to us
moving.
on the lens.
Okay, So, you know, that's why it looks a bit strange, but that particular design we'll be able to work just between the nail holes, and as I say, that's how we operate. It's quite small, because I think, how much does a spoon like this sell for? About 25?
About 27.50.
There we are.
One goes for.
So, you know, it's not rocket science, but you also got a lovely bit of grain down here. You got to split up the top there, and that's what we'll do. We'll work those two designs in, and as long as I don't get interrupted this afternoon by my wife, we may have about 2 or 3 of these spoons well on the way to be completed later on. You're just about ready to go on the scroll saw, I think, Dave, here?
Yeah, now I'm going to move the camera across and go on the scroll saw. I've just very quickly done a similar thing to what Thomas the Woodcarver's talking about. So what I've quickly done, I've just marked a little spoon there. It's just a little bit over the edge, but we'll see if we can get it out of there. But again, it's an example for how we try to get the maximum out of whatever we're using.
Have you mentioned what wood this is?
Yeah, I did. Did I actually mention the wood? I think I might have mentioned at the start. It's a piece of teak.
Yeah, and I can remember where that came from. It was a garden.
There we are. Well, I knew it come off a piece of furniture or something.
Yeah, it was a garden seat.
There we are.
And it's teak. So that's.
Now I put my mask down over here.
Way to go. Yeah, get the mask.
And I'm going to move that camera across to our scroll saw.
Yeah.
One thing I'm going to do, if you explain to everyone, there we are.
Yeah, we change the camera around, change the angle now.
There we go. And away we go. Right. Bear with me 2 seconds. We get this camera focused. There we are. Okay, and I'll just zoom it in, so hopefully you'll be able to see much better what we're doing. Here we are, and hopefully we've still got sand there. Let us know if there are any issues, and we'll try and sort them out. So as always, we start off, we put the mask on, so protecting from the dust, and I'm going to cut the outline, and then we'll do those internal cuts as well. If you want to keep an eye as well, just on that one.
What are we looking at?
Just make sure we're in focus and everything's working okay.
Okay.
Just like so. So there we are. We've got our outline, just like so. Not sure if you've got a comment on there, have we? Let's have a look. I'm having a day of the workshop today. It's work from home, so I'm spending a short while in your... Brilliant. Oh, glad to have you with us. Fantastic. Yeah, we just cut out our outline. Now we've done that outline, and basically we can always, you know, what we would normally do after that, we would normally just sand it a little bit and things like that, just to sort of finish it off. Now we're going to go then on to the internal cuts. So we've got these ones here in and around the swan, and then above and below the heart. Excuse me. So altogether we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 internal cuts that we're going to work on. Any questions as well? Any comments as well? Get them in. It's always great to hear from you all.
Hi from Tommy's workshop. Hi Adrian.
There's always an interesting one.
Hello Tommy.
It's worth explaining as well. Just stop there and I'll explain as well. You may notice that I'm going back over and back over. I tell you what it is. It's because I'm conscious of the camera, and hopefully you can see. Can you see clearly the scroll saw in there did on the camera? Because I'm conscious of it, I'm actually working at a slight angle, so I'm not blocking everybody's view. Can you see that okay, the scroll saw in there did?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
It's reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, should I bring it a bit closer?
No, you're fine there.
Yeah, you sure? It's just to explain as well. That's why, what is it? Whenever you're doing sort of things in front of people and live and stuff like that, you never do your best work, do you? It's interesting.
You want them to see exactly what you're doing.
I'm basically, what it is, I'm working, I'd normally be working there, so I'm blocking everybody's view. Yeah. So it's just to explain to you that's why it takes me a little bit longer than normal, because I'm just working off to the side slightly and moving my hand in a slightly different position to normal.
Because you can see the design you're doing then.
Yes.
It'll stay on there.
Yes, you can see that's what we're bit of sellotape, so you can see It may get moved out the way now as I'm cutting round, but yeah, just so everybody can see. Useful little one to do. Now we're getting on to the sort of main feature of the design. So we're working on the swans. And I might actually, what do you reckon, Did? Have a look. I'm going to cut that out. I think I'm going to cut that out as one. Or would you do it as two? Here we are, decisions.
Let's have a look here.
So we can cut the whole centre out as one. Should we do it as one or two?
You're thinking of cutting down here as well?
You could go right down there if you wanted to. Do it as two, is it?
Yeah, you've got...
Okay,
yeah.
That's fine. There we are. We cut it out as two.
How we looking
just
there?
to explain why we haven't, it's for the strength. Yeah, it's when you're squeezing it, you know, it just you've got that little bit of extra strength there, but yeah, should be fine. Right, so we got those two delicate cuts there, the little heart-shaped eyes, and then this one at the top. So we're nearly through the scroll sawing, so that'll be the end of the noise.
So we've got a few more bits to finish off. One more to go. And then we'll be on the bench.
Wow, there we go. That's the cutting out, all sorted. There we are. And we didn't even break a blade. So there we go. We got the scroll saw completed. We go over onto the bench now, and we'll demonstrate how we do the carving.
I got some interesting point here, David.
Okie dokie. We go on to.
You put your camera where you want to, and I'll just.
Are you going to explain to the camera, or?
Well, no, it'll be on the bench somewhere there. If you can see it.
Here we are.
It's something I just sort of I've known always, but this might be of interest to somebody. The way I'm marking these out.
You explain it. Is the camera's on you at the moment, Thomas?
Okay. So I said earlier that I was going to mark a few of these oak spoons.
Spoons, yeah.
Well, I thought you may find this interesting. The way I'm actually marking them. We do it two ways. Sometimes we, for instance, we glue the paper onto the wood, like so. So we can follow those lines then around, as Dave has just done on the scroll saw. But I noticed I was using, Dave, I don't know whether this is relevant, but I marked this particular piece of wood, and I obviously, being a chippy by trade, a carpenter, always used to use the pencil. But as I'm getting on now a little bit, I'm getting a bit older. So as you can see, I'm wearing glasses as well. So I find it a little bit more difficult to see the lines. So I marked one of these with a pencil, hence, and I marked around. So you can see the pencil marks. They're okay, but as I'm getting a little bit older, I'm finding it a little bit more difficult. So it may be of interest to somebody. I've used this marker pen, Dave. And with this particular marker pen, you can see the difference. This is the pencil one. This is the marker pen one. And
I find sorry to cut it, but I find a similar thing with the carbon paper, where I find that even more faint again than the pencil, especially as you use the carbon paper and it gets a bit worn. I find that the carbon paper, sometimes you can really struggle, and depending on the different lights. So one thing we're going through at the moment, we've been spending a lot of time, and we've been in contact as well with a company who sent to us about lighting, and we're going to be doing a video on that. And in certain lights, I find that the carbon paper lines can be really difficult to see. So I know my brother now, he does a lot of marking out for us, and he uses the pens. And that is the advantage. You can see the lines much more clearly. You can,
I just thought it might be of interest.
More easily.
Anybody struggling with seeing it, and these and also this one has got quite a long nib. So when you're marking the template, the nib, you see, is
on a thicker
just
piece,
as long,
on a thicker template.
So that's about 1/8 of an inch. So you can actually mark around, and you can get a good mark then without struggling, like, you know. I thought it might be of interest to you.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to get that now a little bit closer in, that camera. Just like so. And we're just going to zoom it in as well.
I'm going to use the rotor now, are you alright?
Yeah, you carry on. We got that one just like so. And we get our spoon ready to go in the vise. Hopefully you can still see us fine, you can still hear us fine as well. We just move Dad's hats, get in position to carve. There we are. Just like so. So the main feature, you'll have to excuse that little bit of noise coming through from the bandsaw he's working on at the moment. So the main feature then we've got is these swans. So that's what I'm going to start off on this one working on, is to carve out the shape of the swans. So you can see I'm starting off using the mallet just for a little bit of extra pressure on the actual carving itself. You can see there, where I come down there, because there's not a lot of wood supporting, we've got to go quite delicately, because that'll bruise and that'll sort of flake away quite easily. So we're just carving that down into the wood like so. And this little loop then as well, we put that on there. You'll notice with a lot of the spoons we do, a lot of the work we do, we're always trying to think of sort of practical things, practical stuff that we're doing in our work. So you've got to think about being able to hang the spoon, that sort of thing. We're always thinking of practicalities when we're designing. So again, this is all about sharing the process that we use ourselves. And a big part of the process is in that designing stage to think about things that will have an effect later on. Because it's all well and good, you can develop some really nice designs, some very delicate work, but the problem is if later on then they're too delicate and too easy to break, you're gonna have a problem. And especially like for ourselves, you know, if you're having people contacting you that my love spoon's broken, it's not good. So those are things that you've sort of got to think of early on, as opposed to having problems later on. So yeah, just little practical stuff like that. Teak then, I mentioned it before, beautiful wood to carve, beautiful wood for hand carving. The one that Dad used to learn, which for quite a few, including woodworkers, people are surprised about that, because there's the idea as tough as teak. It's got that reputation for being very difficult to work. But we speak from our own personal experiences, and we've always enjoyed using it. One of the easier woods to carve in. Interesting thing as well, when we do a new design like this, there's an element of sort of feeling your way as you go with it. You're sort of developing that design and working out where your angles, your cutting angles, your stop cuts are going to go. You're developing that idea as you progress with the design. And sometimes what happens when we do a new design, the first time you do it, you'll make it and then you look at it and you think, I can improve it if I change certain parts to the design, or certain parts in regards to how I've actually gone about carving it. So we just move that down. So because I sit down to carve, what I tend to do is to carve in the one direction, do all of the cuts that I can do in the one direction. We then turn it round and we carve, turn it round in the vise, and then we carve back in the opposite direction. And other little things then in terms of our method, we're using the direction of the grain. We're trying to have a nice vertical grain. So you're marking it out with a vertical grain, which again, that's planning early to sort of avoid problems later on. So the more you can be carving with the grain, the better it is. There we are. Right. Let us know if you've got any questions as well. If you've got any comments, let us know in the comments section, and we will do our best to help you out, and we do our best to answer any things. If you've got any thoughts as well on what we're doing, get it into us. So what you can hear as well in the background, that's Dad. He's working on the router. So that's a method that we use. We start the bowl, so we take the bulk of the bowl out using a router and a template. Just reduces some of the hand carving. We still have to hand carve the bowls after that, because where the router goes across the grain, it tends to scuff and burn. So you still have to carve it out, but it just reduces a little bit of the pushing that we're doing on the spoons. So as you can see, we're just shaping around the outside, like so. We will then shape that heart, the top of it, one side, and then match it up to the other side. And it's the same then with the carving depths. What I'm trying to do is to carve the one side to a similar depth as the other side, so you get it nice and even. So just working across that stop cut, just making it a little bit deeper. And of course afterwards we will bevel the edges of the heart. There we are. So into one side, across to the other. And as you know, it's a lovely process, very therapeutic. And it's great to be able to do the live streams when it's working. Some of our more recent ones have been up and down, a little bit of a trial, but all in all, it's good fun. And when it comes to sort of product development, we're always doing different things. We mainly do Lovespoons, but we've been working on a few different projects with the scroll saw. And it's just nice then to be able to do all sorts of different things in the woods. There we are. You'll have to let us know in the comment section, what is everybody working on at the moment? Have you got any projects you're working on? Anything for Valentine's Day? Any interesting ones coming up? So again, we just shape our swans. I'm still trying to decide whether we're going to do a little bit of carving on the beak. So are we going to make it a prominent beak in terms of the separating, using one of the gouges just to separate the top of the beak and the bottom of the beak, or are we going to leave it as it is? Just working around there. And this is the case, that one there is a case of do as I say, not as I do, because I'm carving towards myself, which you shouldn't really do, but I'm just being a little bit lazy, I'm afraid. I should have really turned it round in the vise instead of doing that. So again, you can see us working into that stop cut for the top of the swan. And I was just about to do it again, but I won't. I was just about to carve towards myself. but I decided best not to. So beveling the edge of the heart. And after this, we've got a few more stages to do. So we're going to carve the bowl. And then we're going to sand everything down. And then it will be the actual finishing. So that's the final part of the process. Here we are. Just working on that point, just rounding it all off. So that's what you're thinking of. You're thinking of that finish as you're going along. So another couple of stop cuts, extending that one just like so. Just into that edge. And again, for those of you who want to know the methods, so for instance, the tools that we work with, the ones that I'm working with, mentioned it on several occasions, there's some vintage gouges. The scroll saw that we use is a Hegner Multicut 2S. And the blade that we use for that one, it is a Nikua number 9 reverse tooth blade. Recently I've been looking at different stuff to do with blades, read a few different articles on it. It's interesting, there's a lot of different blades and things like that. And I've been trying different ones because we're always open to sort of learning, you know, new information, new techniques, all that sort of thing. Very interesting because I have tried a few different things and I always seem to come back to using that same blade. And it's the same with the gouges then. We always seem to be, tried some different ones, but we always seem to have those sort of certain preferences that suit ourselves. I think it's a relevant point as well for anybody, you know, whatever level you're at, is that, like for instance, we always share with people what our preferences are, what our own thoughts are. I think you've really got to find what suits yourself best. Try different things, follow different recommendations, but ultimately we're all different and we're all doing different woodwork, and so different things suit different people. Right, let's finish off these swans and then make a decision whether we're going to do a little bit of work on that, on the beak. And this design, it's relevant in regards to what we've always done, because all of our work, we tell a story through the work, and that's what we sort of think, you know, because we're working in wood, because we're crafting things, because it's sort of not mass produced, we always think that having a story in your work is a relevant and important thing. I'm glad you come back through, because did you have that shellac there as well?
No, I get the shellac for you now, sir.
Brilliant.
Yeah, you can show off my bit of work now.
He's called me sir. He's never referred to me as sir before. He's called me many things over the years, but never sir. Here we are. So you can see that's what you've heard Thomas the Woodcarver doing in the background. Just going to check there, see if we had a comment. Oh, Tommy's turning a bowl from some apple. Beautiful. Fantastic. So there we are. Tommy's busy working as well then. So that makes, we know that's three of us. Three of us busy making things. Fantastic. Right, yeah, I'm happy with that. I think, let's have a little look. I'm undecided on this one. I got a feeling I'm going to put a line on there and then decide I'd have preferred it without. Oh, I quite like that. That's quite nice. That's a nice finishing touch for the swans. I thought it was going to be one of those situations where when I put the line on there I was going to decide that was a bad idea, but no, I'm not. I'm quite happy that that looks, yeah, that finishes it nicely. Quite a delicate, that's quite a delicate cut, that one though. So yeah, that's what we're sort of thinking, is that all of your work and things like that, if you can have a story and a message in it, it just makes it that much more meaningful.
What's your maths, Dave?
Brilliant.
Shellac.
So you've got the methylated spirits.
Got your brush there.
Soaking the brushes and cleaning them.
And I'll get a clean cloth as well, just in case you spill it.
Now, as you probably know, we've been sort of building up towards Valentine's. I mean, last week we had our live stream that didn't exactly go very well for St Dwinwyn's, but it's yeah, it's a busy time of year for us around now, but it's good fun, and it's very fortunate that we've had a fair bit of interest in what we're doing. What do you think? Do you think it was better with the... I'm asking... I'll throw it open to everyone. Do you think it's better with the beaks or without?
So look.
There we go.
Oh dear me, you find some people would prefer with, some without. It's the way it is. You know, often people come into the workshop, they're looking to purchase a spoon. And they go along the line, they say, well, I don't like that one, don't like that one.
And you're thinking, hang on, I spent 10 hours working on that, and you telling me you don't like it?
Yeah, but it's not that they are taste, and that's the way it is. You learn.
I'm sure there's plenty who've joined us who can relate to that, where you know, you've spent hours and hours working on something, and then someone goes, oh, I don't like that one, and you're thinking, yeah, hang on, I've just spent how many days crafting that, and
What I wanted to say there, I put those there now on the bench, those that I've been cutting out this afternoon.
Yeah.
And obviously we're conscious about, you know, the price. We know the price that these sell at.
I've done a video on this about pricing. The hardest thing for a woodworker is pricing, isn't it?
But at the end of the day, whilst it's significant and it is important, as I'm in there cutting these out, the most important thing is that I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And you start, I think that's one of the advantages with working with wood. It's such a beautiful material to work with, the different characteristics that you get in the timber. And putting the two together, the Lovespoon, the wood, you know, it's, especially at these times, it's very difficult for people. They can be isolated. And I think for your mental health, you know,
that's why it's nice doing the live streams, because you get a bit of community as well.
Yeah, it really is. It's
for any of you know, working. That's why we're doing it, for a bit of community as well. Turn the box to Tommy's. What mixes your shellac? Whatever fiddies do with it.
Yeah, it's those beetles. Those
Oh, we got Midnight Joker with us as well. Afternoon.
It's shells or something, isn't it? We get it from 90 miles from here, actually. It's
we don't
in Cardiff called Fiddies.
Yeah,
and we don't make our own shellac.
No,
they make it for us. And
we buy Fiddy shellac. So whatever mix they use, that's what we're using.
I'll get the.
I tell you one thing I have noticed though, the price of it has gone up. Wow, it's doubled in price in next to no time, to be honest. But it is. It does a fantastic job for us. We like it because it's like a matte finish, and we don't sort of want like a high sort of gloss. We prefer a more natural look to the wood.
Can I just put that in?
Of course you can. There you go.
No one.
What's in it? All they say us is it's got about 3 or 4 warning signs on it.
Yeah.
Hang on, it does. Oh no, that's just more warnings.
Yeah.
2 to 3 coats are sufficient for most areas. That's the application. So yeah, whatever Fiddy's put in it, that's what we're using.
And you can see we use plenty of it.
Yeah. So you can see it's
good. It's a good product.
For ourselves, it's another thing, you know, in terms of
that quantity that we showed you there, the first one, that's about £100 worth.
Yeah, it is. But that's gone up a lot in price, hasn't it?
It has gone. Yeah, it's made apparently from beetle shells or something.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, there's a number of things that I think have gone up a lot in price recently. My friend now, he's a fabricator, and his costs, wow, they're skyrocketed.
The finishing, whether you put 2 coats or 3 coats, again, that's down to the individual. We find 2 coats, and then you can actually put beeswax on top.
That's interesting. That's interesting because Midnight Joker and Tommy, they're both saying exactly the same, that everything's gone up massively in price.
Right. There we are. So going back to the shellac, you know, some people put 2 coats. I spoke to a French polisher, and he was saying that he's using it as a substitute to French polish.
Yeah.
He puts 2 coats of French polish and then beeswax on top of that. You know, after rubbing down in between.
Beeswax is a lovely finish, but for us it's a nightmare because it gets stuck in all the detail, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so we tend to put 3 coats of shellac, but you have to have a good lighting to make sure that you know, that you don't get any drags with the brush.
And that's it. And the other problem as well, there's a few problems we do have with it. One is getting a good quality brush, because our last few that we've had, the bristles have been terrible for coming off, and then it just makes life more difficult. And the other thing as well, you mentioned light, and one of the interesting things I find with that is that whilst you said good light, I find that different light shows different things. Yeah. So for instance, if you can get the shellac then in sunlight, it'll pick things up.
Yeah.
But then if you're in like an artificial light, you'll see other things. Yeah. So I find in different lights you see different things.
We've had customers in here asking us for love spoons, and we show them, we say, oh, I like that design, but please
don't finish it.
Don't put anything on it.
Yeah, don't put any finish on it.
Left, no finish at all.
Yeah.
Just the wood. And again, customers right in that case.
Yeah. You know. But it's again, it's one of those things where you spend, you know, you'll spend a few hours finishing.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes, oh, I prefer it without the finish. Yeah. So it's interesting from...
It's the same with staining wood. Some people like...
To stain it, yeah.
Stain it.
Others like to leave it more natural. Yeah. We mainly leave the wood a natural colour ourselves.
In fact, I saw a spoon recently made out of holly, a very nice spoon, but I was quite surprised because they'd stained it.
Ah, right.
And you know, for me,
holly's a beautiful colour.
That's sacrilege, really. But,
yeah, holly's got a beautiful colour to it.
Again, it's down to the individual.
Individual, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so, holly, there's a beautiful, I like the...
Right, you don't need
that colour and character in the grain. Well, I tell you what, I think possibly, I'd like everybody to get a real idea with this one of how we do make a product then from start to finish. Could you just, if I give this one to you, I'll carry on carving something differently for everyone to see. Remember as well, any comments, any questions.
Oh, do you want to cut one of these for you or something?
Well, there's spoons behind there. Okay. We've always got plenty of spoons for carving. So if you grab me a spoon from behind there, and what I'll do, I'll give this one for Dad, and he can prepare this one. All he's going to do, and I'll explain the process, and another time we'll try and demonstrate it for you all to see.
One of these?
Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, that'll be fine. I'll have a look at the eternity sign on there. Okay, fantastic. So, before I hand it over to him, what I'm going to explain to you what he's going to go and do for me. I'm rushing now, so that's why I'm carving towards myself, because I don't want to hold him up too much. Right, so what he's going to do, he's going to go in next door, and he's going to put on the bandsaw at about a 45-degree angle to just cut some of the wood away. He's then going to put it on the belt sander and shape that, and then just shape off any, sand off any pencil marks, and just do a little bit of work, and then that will be ready then for hand sanding and shellacking. So there we are. I'm going to hand that one over, just for you all to see before I do hand it over. That's where we've got to. Give it to Dad, and he's going to... He's going to inspect it. Yeah, he'll probably come back and say, yeah, you've made a mistake there, you've done that wrong. That's usual. I don't know if any of you noticed, we've just changed our photo, our profile photo, and if you're wondering is it serious or not, no, it wasn't serious. It was just a bit of a wind up, something typical between ourselves, where he's sort of standing over my shoulder watching what I'm doing. Quite glad for him to do it, to be honest with you. It's very fortunate to have that circumstance, but that's quite typical, where I'll put initials, for example, on the spoon, show it to him and say, well, what do you think? And he said, oh, no, I'll go and sort it out. So, have you got a comment on here? I'll just check 2 seconds. A laburnum owl, golden metallic. So I'm just reading some of your comments here. Oh, that is typical. Laburnum is stunning. That is typical. I've just read your comment, Midnight Joker. That is absolutely typical. Laburnum is beautiful, and as you know, not the easiest timber to work in, and that is just typical. Customer gets it and paints it brown. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's incredible what we always thought that, you know, where you'll have these different carvings and they sort of cover them in gold leaf or stuff like that, and you lose that character, you lose all of that beautiful grain, that beautiful wood. I think if you work in wood, you just generally have an appreciation for it as a material. So, but that is, I'll tell Dad that he'll appreciate that one. The laburnum owl, he'll appreciate that one, because that is typical. But yeah, this one here, now that we're carving, we're doing the eternity sign, and it's a piece of oak. But this is interesting because this is quite a dark piece of oak. So again, you get that variety with the woods. You get all sorts, some darker pieces, some lighter pieces. It would probably, I'm trying to think where this one has come from. I'm sure Dad will know because he sorts the wood out for us. I think it's come from some old furniture. And so you can see with the eternity sign, we've demonstrated it a few times before, but we're working on getting that effect of under and over. Yeah, that's something we've never got involved with as well, thinking about it. We've never gone down the line of painting we've never gone down the line of painting our spoons. We played around a few years ago. We started doing stuff with, about 5 years ago, we started doing some resin love spoons, that sort of thing, and you know, using resin in the design, and it just never sort of materialized. It was a bit fiddly, a bit fussy, and so in the end we decided it wasn't for us, but each to their own. It can look, I mean, stuff like that can look really effective, but yeah, we've never sort of gone down the line. We've always, our preference has always been to leave the woods a natural colour. And the idea as well, with the live streams, what we're sort of trying to do is to give all of yourselves an idea of what we're sort of doing on a daily basis. So it's nice to be able, to invite yourselves and to join up with yourselves then through YouTube to the workshop, because we've always worked whilst people are here in the workshop, so it's quite strange for us then to not have people here. So being able to share it with you is great. I just noticed we've got another couple of comments on there. So my son wanted a walking stick, so I turned it. Oh dear, all the stories are coming out now. I sprayed it. Oh, what? I think as well what happens is that those who don't work with wood, it's like, for instance, I'll give you an example with designing. A lot of people, when it comes to designing, will ask us to do things that just don't work in wood, and things like the sizes that people will ask for Lovespoon. You've got to go and have a read the last two comments on there.
Okay.
You'll appreciate those.
I've done that, but if you look at the back,
yeah,
right, which is the point,
yeah,
you can point out to people as well, look, we need to finish.
Yeah, so we got just a little, what do you call it? What do you call it? Like a little,
the Aris, isn't it?
The Aris.
You know.
So we will have to go back over those. I'll show you now how we go about doing it. Read the last two comments there. We were talking, see, about the customer and how different people's ideas and the different finishes and things like that.
I made a gorgeous laburnum owl once. It looked golden metallic. The woman I made it for hated it.
Ah, dear me.
My son was 46, so he turned it from a lovely piece of flame beach. He sprayed it matte black.
And I think it is a thing. I think it's a woodworker's thing where when you do stuff for other people, they don't always realise and understand, you know, the wood, and they don't appreciate it in the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking there's a beautiful, there's a house sign close to here, and it is the most beautiful piece of rosewood, and again, it's been painted brown, and it is the most stunning piece of rosewood. With all that lovely character and engraved. You're looking at me as if you're thinking, well, where is this house sign?
Yeah.
There we are. I'll explain to you after. Yeah. I'm not saying too much on it because I'm concerned somebody go and have the piece of wood.
Yeah. So it is. You know, it's down to taste at the end of the day.
I was talking about it. We've never gone down the lines because there's things like, you know, resin is popular and you can get some really nice effects. Painting's popular and things like that. And again, it's never been our thing, is it?
Can I emphasise again? Put those two together, Dave. Sorry to mess you up. You've got the one with the pencil and the one with the marker pen. You can see, you know, I really have to strain my eyes a little bit.
It's interesting, isn't it, that yourself as a carpenter and joiner, you would say that's more technically correct. You should use a pencil.
Well, I
you know,
I would
from
then,
your training, no, you mark out with the pencil.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? What's easier to see?
Yeah.
It's the pen, isn't it?
Definitely.
So it's a good example of the difference between what's technically right and what's easiest
I know
to
you
do.
can go into. There's obviously different pencils. There's a B, a 1H, 2H, 2B, and all that kind of thing. It's so, you know. But at the end of the day, it's just.
Now, growing up around you, I remember going to a quiz once. Be interesting to see the response this gets. I remember going to a quiz once, and one of the questions was, and I suppose this could be answered in a number of different ways, but the question was, where does a carpenter keep his pencil? Do you remember that one in the quiz? You've gone very quiet there. You remember that one? Yeah. And the funniest thing with this is we got the answer wrong.
Yeah.
Because I think the answer that came back was in his pouch. Well, we always kept it behind our ear.
That's right.
So there we are. I'll throw that open to everyone. Where do you keep your pencil?
you could interpret that in a number of ways.
That's what I said. There's a number of answers to that one.
Yeah.
We could have some deleted comments coming up.
Yeah.
But it's I couldn't believe it. It's just as well we didn't lose the quiz by 1 point. But that was the quiz question. Where does a carpenter keep his pencil? And I always thought it was behind his ear, but I was wrong. Right, so as you can see, we're nearly finished on this eternity sign. And then we're going to get back to our original spoon. This is one that we use a lot, the eternity sign. So you can see we've created that effect of over and under. So we mentioned about the arris that you've got on the back there. So we're just going to take that arris off, just like so. Just taking that sharp edge off. So it's just where we've worked on the scroll saw, it just leaves that sharp edge behind. So we just take that one off, just like so. The same here where we've done those hearts for the eyes, like so. And as we said, we tell a story through the work that we do, and now I've got to start thinking of a name. There we are, I'll throw it open to you all. This one may end up on our website. I might have to change the design a little bit, but I got to think, because we already do one spoon on there called Swan's Partner for Life, so we can't do that one. So any thoughts? What can we name our new Lovespoon design? And nothing to do with carpenter's pencils. Right, let's have a little look. Okie dokie. Right, I'm going to turn that round. I'm going to check to see if anyone's got any comments on there. Pencils. There we are. It's interesting to know. There we are. One carpenter who couldn't keep the pencil behind his ear. There we go. So you just see we're finishing off. And we're just going to do a little bit of work. Nice thing with teak as well, it finishes. It's a lovely one for the way it finishes. So just a little bit of sanding in the bowl. I'll go back over probably the back of it a little bit after. So as much as I can, I'm trying to sand with the grain. It'll be the same then when I go to shellac it, as much as possible, try and shellac it with the grain as well. So we're trying to avoid putting any scratches or any mark. We had one who was nearly a failed carpenter because he couldn't keep his pencil behind his ears. So.
Oh dear.
There we go. So we're trying to work with the grain as much as possible.
Yeah.
Have you got a problem there with your scroll saw?
No, it's again just if somebody's interested, I don't know whether you can see that blade. You can see where just there, the burn.
And that's when we know it's time to change the blade.
Time to change the blade. No good messing with it.
Yeah. Causes more trouble than to keep struggling on with it. So what we do, see, you buy a gross, don't you?
Yeah, gross at a time.
A gross at a time. And the problem is when they start burning like that, then it's going to cause you problems in the finishing. So that's why we tend to replace them.
Especially using oak.
Yeah, oak, and one of the worst I find on the scroll saw can be cherry, depending on the type of cherry.
Right, yeah.
I find that can burn quite badly. Mahogany, you can get away with it a little bit more. Teak as well, but things like oak and ash and cherry, I find you get those burn marks, and then trying to get them out in the finish can be a bit of a nightmare. Right, there we are. Let's have a little look. Are we going to just get a finer... I've got a finer piece of sandpaper here that I'm just going to use just to sand, again, trying to work with the grain as much as possible. And then it's going to be one of my favourite parts of the process. There we are. Just trying to work straight up and down with the grain. Now where's our pot of shellac? Here we are. We've got a nice new brush. I'll just give that a little stir around, just like so. Just mix in that shellac just a little bit, and we will just paint it on, just like so. A little bit more on there. I think this brush needs a little bit of a soak in, because it's not straightforward. It's a little bit I think it needs a bit of cleaning. That's probably why he brought me in the methylated spirits for it. So you can see, as much as possible, I try and go with the grain. Another little dab on the brush, just on the back of the bowl. And afterwards as well, I'm going to have to go back over, because this isn't the best brush for getting inside on the internal, getting all of that shellac on the internal cuts. So hopefully that has been useful. That's just a guide to sort of our process that we go through, our entire process from start to finish. So from the idea and design, that Swan's partner for life idea, developing that and then bringing that through to its sort of conclusion of a finished Lovespoon. Let us know as well any comments, any questions, any things you'd like to see us doing. There we are. I'm just going to put that on there 2 seconds like that. Come round the front here. Got any comments on there? Soulmates, yeah, nice idea. Yeah, I like those ideas. Yeah, so there we are. That's our live stream for today. A bit more successful than it was last week, thankfully, but it couldn't have been much worse. We got a few more, well, we've got plenty more videos coming up. So that's our spoon. Oh look, I've made work for myself. I put it down on there, didn't realise. So I'm going to have to clean all of that up. There we are. But the front looks all right. That's our spoon. Hopefully that's useful. Let us know, as I said, any questions, anything you want us to look at, anything you want us to go through. Let us know, and happy to do a live stream or a video based around it. I've had a bit of a nightmare there.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. I put it down in the vice, didn't I?
Oh, there we are.
So it'll have to be, it doesn't matter because the first coat, so we'll have to roll back down and we'll sort of, we'll go from there.
Yeah,
But hopefully that's useful.
Yeah.
Gives you an insight into what we do. That's the plan with the live streams, is to give you more of an insight into what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No,
Thomas the Carver?
hopefully they'll enjoy it and see you and get something out of it for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, it's goodness knows what will happen here. Oh, he keeps pointing me. I got to look at that thing.
He's got to get used to talking to the camera.
Yeah. So no, I hope you found some use in it. Yeah.
There we are.
All the best. Take care. God bless.
Thank you all again for joining us.
Cheers.
All the very best. Thank you.